welcome to another episode of Stage Diving with Scotty. I have a special guest, and I'm going to be talking with Nate Parrish. And
Hey,
welcome, Nate.
how's it going, man?
All right, good. This is exciting for me. I love
Where
this
are
kind of
you
stuff.
right
I'm in,
now?
I'm actually in Lincoln, California, so I'm in Sacramento area. I'm near your
Yeah,
old stomping grounds of
dude, my
traveling.
best friend lived in Lincoln for a while. I like Lincoln, actually. It's really cool.
It's very family friendly and
hmm
just great area, and it's
It
been
snowed there one day. That one day when he was moving away, it snowed in
how
Lincoln.
many how many years ago was that?
That was 2015,
Wow.
2014 or 15.
I wonder if it must have been like a different area of Lincoln, but
It
I
was a
remember
Sunday afternoon. It was so weird. It
it
might have
doesn't
been
surprise me though.
2016. It might have been 2016, but anyways, whatever. It was cool.
Where did he move to?
He moved to Napa,
Oh,
and we followed him, and we lived there for a while too. So
you kind of jumped all around California, or
yeah,
wow.
yeah. I grew up in Stockton. I lived in Modesto. I lived in Oakdale, which is like a little small version of Modesto. And then I lived. We got married. We lived in Stockton again. We moved to Citrus Heights. Then we moved to Roseville. Then we
Oh,
moved
really?
to Napa. Now we live in Bakersfield. So eventually, my goal is by the time I clock out of Earth, I will have lived everywhere in California.
Hoping that it still stays standing, but we'll see, right?
Yeah. Well, maybe I won't get to do that. But
So I heard that you have sorry, I'm going right off the bat because I'm a
do
father,
it.
so this interests me.
Yeah.
You are a new father.
Yeah.
And was it 4 months old, 5 months old?
He's gonna be 6 months this next week. Yeah, 6 months old.
I
And
went,
I still, I mean, it's weird because I spend a lot of time with him, obviously, but then there's some days where I look over, I'm like, whose kid is that? Like, that's your kid.
yeah.
You'll know this person forever. Whoa. I feel like it hasn't really sunk in yet.
Oh yeah, dude. It's so surreal at first, just like exactly what you're saying. It's like I have to make this thing live. I have to keep it from killing
You
itself
have to keep it alive,
accidentally.
and then I have to teach it things. He's already learning stuff. Like I realize I'll be sitting there on my phone thinking I'm being sneaky, I'm holding him and I'm like, and then I'll look over and he's looking around at my phone and he's just watching me. I'm like, dude. So like having a kid, it really makes you can't be selfish anymore. And then it also shows you like how self-absorbed you are, like in an instant.
Oh yeah.
He's like, hey, I'm your son, but you're on your phone. That's weird.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're right. You're right, kid. Little baby Yoda master.
And it's pointing to the home phone. It knows almost more about your phone than you do sometimes.
Oh man. So yeah, it's pretty cool though. It's everyone says like, oh, it's the hardest and the best thing. Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah, it is.
So,
It'll get more fun, and it'll be being just as hard, but at the same
yeah.
time, you'll find so much more. I think you'll find more benefit than you are going to have hardship,
Oh yeah,
um,
absolutely.
which is kind of cool because I thought the same thing when I had my kids, and it was just one was easier than the other as far as sleeping. The other one became harder with uh, just anything and everything because I have two kids. I have one's a 14-year old.
Oh wow.
He has autism, and then I
Okay.
have a 10-year-old who's about to be 11, and he has ADD. So it's been a very fun juggling
Wow, man.
time.
So yeah, so you can
Yeah.
probably teach us all about patience and all that stuff.
Well, let me tell you, as I know you're a Christian man,
Yeah.
it's so funny to see the the um uh the parallels, the little things that God will kind of teach you through your kid of
Oh yeah.
how he sees us. And it's
Yep.
very interesting how if you believe like that's just a thing you're going, oh, that's how you feel.
Yeah. I mean, I always thought I was kind of content not having kids. I was like, if it happens, that's cool. If not, whatever. But I think I always heard people, especially Christian people I knew, would be like, "Oh, this is God. He calls it a blessing, and like He wants you to have kids." I'm like, I don't know. And now I'm like, I think yeah, like it makes sense because it's not necessarily because God's like, oh, it'd be cool if there were more people, but I think it shows you there's things that you're not going to understand about how God sees us until you look at your own kid, and then you're like, yeah, okay, so like God's really patient with me because I'm an adult baby to him.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so
Exactly.
it is really cool. Yeah, it's cool.
That's cool, man. No, that's great. I love that. And so with that, I have a question to ask you because I did this because I'm a music freak. So I
Mhm.
was like, what am I gonna play for my son inside my mother and my baby's my baby's good job, Scott. My wife's womb.
Yeah.
And so the first thing I grabbed was Sigaros. And I'm not up on my Icelandic talk speech, but I played the
Hippopola?
song. What?
I was gonna say Hippopola or whatever it is, or
No, not that one.
you
It was
you went with the deep cut. Okay.
I went with the one off of Life Aquatic.
Life Aquatic. Yeah, that is
Stariofer, something like that.
yeah, I'm not gonna try to say that one. No, that's a great one. I love that one. That scene and when they come face to face with the shark.
Or the leopard shark, whatever it was called.
Yeah, I love that whole movie, but that particular scene is like so beautiful.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so great. You feel that way.
Oh, I love sharks anyways, and I love Wes Anderson, and I love Sigur Rós. So when that happened, I was all teary eyed in the movie theater. That's what I would play. But yeah.
So what did you end up playing?
So I don't know if specifically I played him a song. Well, he actually I'm very into myself, but he heard a lot of my music because
Okay.
I was finishing my album when she was pregnant. So I'm mixing and tracking everything in our house, and I'm using studio monitors. So she would come over and she tells me, I don't know if it's true, maybe she's just saying to make me feel better. It's like he jumps when he hears your music, like he jumps inside.
That's awesome.
So I think he heard probably more of my music. I made sure that the first book I read him was a children's version of Thor. The story of Thor. And then when he was born, the first song I played when he was in the when we were in the hospital was Hans Zimmer, the Man of Steel theme. Because that is my favorite. Great. I love Zimmer. I love Zack Snyder's treatment of DC, and I particularly love that song.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's
you're one of the few.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I am hardcore. Like I'm talking. Like I've met Zack Snyder. I went to a screening that he hosted.
Really?
It's all about the Snyder Cut. Oh, I could talk about it for hours. There's so many layers, and it just spoke to me. So
wow,
I love it.
So isn't his thing like coming out like on HBO or something like an extended Zack Snyder?
It's the Snyder Cut of Justice League. So the short story, because I'm sure no one cares, but the short story is he exited the Justice League filming. They brought in Whedon. He reshot 70% of the movie.
That's right. Okay.
So the actual movie, all these scenes were removed. They changed the color grading, changed the soundtrack. They took Hans Zimmer off, and Danny Elfman did the soundtrack. So it's not even his vision. And the fans just were so like, we need this. And he's like, he was kind of had his hands tied, but it exists. You know, he'd give hints. He's like, it exists. Like I have the cut. And so through all that, made a bunch of noise. The studio and HBO Max funded the rest of it, gave him the rest of the funds. He finished filming, and it's coming out. It's a 4-hour movie coming out in March.
That's all.
So it's restored. It's got. They took out Martian Manhunter, Green Lantern. They took out. It's so many. They redid Steppenwolf's design to make him less scary.
I thought I heard about that. Yes.
Yeah. So and Zimmer, all his soundtrack is in it now, and so I'm super pumped about that. So I'm a big nerd when it comes to comic books in general, but specifically, I'm a Zack Snyder fan. So I'm one of those guys.
We might have to talk on a separate day, man, because I could go on about comics, man. I got so many, and just
same
universe. That's cool, dude.
But yeah, I find I'll pick up graphic novels or collections because I find that's the easiest way to like
absolutely
jump back in. You know what I mean?
takes up less space too when you're adding Wednesday after Wednesday or whatever it is, constant. I just got boxes that are just sitting there, and I'm like, oh crap.
I can't. Yeah, I can't. So I get the graphic novels, and I did have like an app, but it just doesn't. It's not this. It's literally not the same. It doesn't feel right.
No.
You don't get the same effect. So you got to have the physical copy.
That's isn't that so great about like when you go into like a comic book shop or even like a bookstore? I love that smell.
Yeah.
I love the smell, and then going through, and then just there's something about the new books, and just gosh, man, I just love that stuff.
Yeah, same.
Well, sorry, I jumped back on. So, okay, so upon your beginnings, I have to say this first because I know we're gonna run out of time real quick, and it just sucks because there's so much I wanted to talk about. But the fact that you are actually still in Cutlass.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay, and you met Nick, right? Nick Departy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So he was going to Calvary Chapel, Chino Hills, him and his brother, and me and my brothers were, my brother Billy, we're friends with him and Paul, and they tried to start a band, not with Paul, but with Nick. And that kind of flew out of, whatever. It was a, fling, how everybody goes in different bands. Like I knew you were in different bands as well.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because there was years ago, I'm like, Nick, I heard that Nick was in Cutlass. I'm like, what? He's in the band on the radio? How's this? What the heck? And then I heard your interview, and you were saying, I'm in Cutlass. I'm going, holy crap, what a small world. And then, check this out. That I was listening. Did you ever listen to Billy Powers' podcast, Urban Achiever? Okay. Yeah. Did you hear his recent one with Tommy Rabin? I think it's Rabin.
No.
He played in Huntington's for a little while, and you played with the Huntingtons, right?
Yeah, that was at my first show. We're gonna add some more layers. You ready for this?
Oh gosh.
So I just talked to Billy. I talked to Billy Powers a few weeks ago because I just send him my music because I'm like, it'd be cool. I like Billy Powers, so I'm like, hey, listen to my music. And so he did, and whatever. So, but so our first show ever was with the Huntingtons. Now, the guy who's mastering my music is Cliffy.
Oh, really?
So I hit up Cliffy over the summer to send him some mixes. And I was like, here's a guy, I care what he thinks. So, and I'm pretty sure he'll tell you if it sucks or not. And he really liked it. And I was just blown away. And so I was actually talking to him 2 days ago. He mastered my last single. He just mastered a new one that I'm working on. He's mastering my next project.
Wow.
So yeah, I know, it's kind of crazy. So I always tell him, like, I'm sure, whatever, but he's like, yeah, your music, whatever. I'm like, but Cliffy, like, you're still one of my heroes. This is, you don't get it. So,
that's so rad. Because Tommy was saying in the interview, he was saying like how he keeps in contact with Cliff. It just, he's just a great guy and that kind of stuff.
Yes.
But I've never met him, and I never was I never got into the Huntingtons. Like because when they were around, I think was. I think a lot of that kind of burst of like tooth and nail bands were coming out. So it was just kind of a lot to grasp for me, especially when I'm that punk age, when I was very picky about who I wanted to listen to, who sounded like this and was trying to copy this. And so, but the little bit I did hear, I did like, but I just never got into them. So now when I learned about them later on in life, it was really cool to hear everybody that was involved with them or toured with them or just influenced by Cliff. And just, it was really cool to hear everybody's like, circle of friends kind of come together,
Yeah, it's cool. Cliffy was so I like them because obviously the Ramones connection. Yeah. So Ramones was like, I guess when I was getting into punk, the ironic thing about punk rock is it's very elitist. Even though it's supposed to be like we're against the system. Yeah. But also we have a uniform that you have to wear, and we'll tell you what to think. It's the same exact deal, but you were either like a Ramones guy or you were like a Clash or Sex Pistols guy. And so I would probably lean on the Ramones side just because I liked what they did. Yeah. And the Huntingtons were like that. And so I'm like, oh, cool. Another Ramones type band. And when I saw them live, Cliffy had like the skinniest jeans I've ever seen in my life. I was like, I got to get pants like that, and his power stance and everything, and been doing it ever since. So. But yeah, it's a cool full circle. And I met Nick on a tour in 2008 with when I was with Worth Dying For. We were on this tour, and I met Nick because he just seemed cool. I forget, we were doing some sort of like pre-production stuff, like a practice night. and someone had a ripstick. Do you remember those? It was like a
Sounds
razor scooter.
really familiar.
It's like a razor
Yeah,
scooter,
that's right.
but like lamer. And so Nick was on it, and then we started, and I was like, it'd be funny if we made a video. So that night we made like a commercial for Ripstick. It was me, Nick DeParty, some Cutlass guys, Fireflight. I think those guys were involved in it, and it lived on the internet. It got taken down not long ago, but yeah, it lived on the internet. It was like the stupidest video, but I connected with Nick and James from Cutlass just because they were cool guys. We talked about like the bands we liked, and he was like into Mineral and that kind of like 90s real emo stuff.
Yes.
And I like them too. And it was cool. So we hit it off, and now ironically, he left the band.
James or Nick?
Nick.
Oh, Nick did. Okay.
Yeah, they had a fill-in guy for about a year who's really good. But James contacted me because I was, I guess, another friend of his that played guitar, and so it's all about chemistry too. Like,
absolutely, yeah.
Being in a band and stuff, you got to be with people that you can tolerate and hopefully like. So,
yes.
So that
doesn't last very long if that doesn't work.
Yeah. So it's been cool. Like I would not think of filling Nick's shoes per se, but I do enjoy playing and stuff. It's a lot of fun.
Do you ever still keep contact with him, or?
I haven't in a long time. Just randomly, like random Instagram comments of stuff like that. But yeah. So, is he in Southern California still?
I don't know, because like everything else, you just kind of you get the little snippets, and sometimes if you do finally get to go down the rabbit hole of looking in other people, then for me, if you do that, if you're me, then you quickly forget. So
yeah,
I have a focus of a pigeon. So
no, it's interesting how especially, and then with the internet now, everyone's on social media in some way. So the circles are even smaller, and it's crazy. Like once I always dreamed about being in that tooth and nail world. I just never thought it was a reality. But so it's kind of cool to be working like with Ethan Luck. Ethan plays drums on my project, and he's a guy I grew up listening to as well. And it's crazy. Yeah.
So with that, because the new album, you just released what is or I'm a Wreck, right? Mm-hmm. And that was back in 2020, which was just a couple weeks ago.
I don't know if you remember 2020, but yeah.
I think it was the year that must not be named.
Mm-hmm.
No, but it's so funny because how I was introduced to you was through Grandpa Loves Rhinos, because they were involved with indie vision music.
Yep.
And then it went with Kept on Hold.
There you go.
And then you and I know what it was. It was because of that on the Tooth and Nail Labeled podcast page on Facebook. And I believe it was Paul mentioned you to a friend of mine about getting into some new punk and whatnot.
Oh, cool.
And I was like, I'll check this out. And I listened to it. I'm like, wow, this sounds very like something I listened to in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Like Social D, but a little different. But I couldn't quite think of like who else you kind of a mixture of like genres in a way. Like I wasn't expecting like saxophone, and I wasn't expecting just a little like Ramones-ish kind of riffs a little bit. And I like that you made that your own, and I love the fact that not just the music and how nostalgic that feels, but I love like your honesty in your lyrics too, which is kind of poo-pooed on now lately, especially now that free speech is going to be taking take a back seat. But I absolutely love, like, for instance, when I just heard the first couple lyrics of like what's this one, it's Mind Monopoly of they give us just enough leash so we think that we're in the lead, just enough meat to remind us that we have teeth.
They give us just enough leash so we think that we're in the lead. It's just enough meat to remind us that we have teeth.
Like, I just was like, what? What? Where are you going with this? And I heard just going through that whole song, I'm like, holy crap, that's exactly how I feel. That's how a lot of us feel, And I love that you're not saying anything to this, to that, but you're being honest about what you're seeing. And I love that, because it's not just that song. It's like quite a few other songs, especially like, was it Bullets and Blades, the most recent one?
Yep.
Man, I love some of your lyrics are just hitting home for me. And I love when you got punk that is like punk.
Well, it's interesting because, you know, when you try to self-categorize yourself or put yourself in a genre, I say punk rock because I know what my influences are, and they seem obvious to me. You know, like you'll hear a lot of Social D in there. You'll hear a little bit of Ramones, and you'll hear some like Springsteen. That's where like the saxophone and the kind of there's some piano really, really subtly on there.
Yes.
But it's because I grew up and I loved Bruce Springsteen. How when you hear Bruce Springsteen, you're like, he just sounds like he's like American. Yeah, you know, he's just like an American songwriter, and I love that. And so I kind of had all those influences squashed together. And so that project originally was a year of singles. So I was writing, recording, and releasing a single a month. So it's politicians, celebrities, housemate of mirrors. So it gave me the opportunity to like, okay, here's what I'm going to sing. Here's what I'm going to write about. Now I have this punk, broader genre of punk rock, but there's a lot of subgenres, right?
Yes.
So like, what would like fit this mood? So politicians and celebrities is kind of like a replacement, sort of, you know, angry but yet happy sounding. Yeah. That Monster song is very Ramones. It's very straightforward. Oh, yeah. so it gave me the opportunity to kind of explore those subgenres, and I'm very unashamed about the fact, like, I love all these bands, and I am honored when someone says, "Oh, I can hear that influence," because I'm like, "Good, yeah, it's in me." Yes. Like that's within my blood. So, but then with the lyrics portion of it, you know, like you heard a little bit about my musical journey, being in all these bands and contributing to all kinds of projects, but you know, sometimes there's a lot of parameters put on you from whatever. You're in someone else's band, or you're writing with other people, or you're on a Christian label, whatever it is. And I just don't have that anymore. And so I'm like, cool, say what I want to say.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
And, you know, the nostalgia effect is like, I think good music and people who write good, honest music, they're selfish. And what I mean is they write music that they want to hear. You know, they write music for themselves. And then what people think, or if people embrace it, that's secondary. And I think that's where like real artists, that's where they exist, because they see a hole in the world. There's something's missing. Yeah. And so they do that. And so I think that's where artists exist. And I, you know, in my own way wanted to write. I was like, man, this is what I want to hear. I want to hear songs that sound like this and talk about this and do it this way. Yeah. So if I listen to my record, I want to like it, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah.
Cool. That was cool. So it's in a weird, selfish way. Like I wrote this album for me, and it was secondary if people embraced it or not. You always hope that they do, because it's nice, you know, if people are like, good job. Or if they're like, I hate this, that's also good too, because you know, you at least you're not getting the
Yeah, I'd rather it be, I'd rather be up or down.
Yeah, that's where I was coming from on that.
And that's how it is like right now with my band. The other gentleman's name's Aaron, and we're kind of in a spot where there's some things that's like, I like that, but I don't like it, or I like this song, but I don't like this song.
Gotcha.
But then sometimes we'll work out those kinks and stuff, and it's funny, and it's like, okay, well, I want to be able to listen to my record over and over, just like you were saying. It's the exact same way, because I want to enjoy listening to the changes. I want to hear the groove. I want to feel it. Even sing along with it if there's somewhere to sing. And that's what, you know, it's fun when like you, I played our first album for my kids, and my youngest son loves us.
That's awesome.
He'll sing along, and it's like, good. That's kind of what I'm hoping for, is something like that, or someone that just like, it's not for me, forget it. But it's the person that just goes, it's okay. I just kind of like, it's that little stab. You're just like, I work so hard on it. You can just give me it sucks or you like it, not just
right. But at the end of the day, you create the, like, so back to the Zack Snyder thing. One of the reasons I really like him particularly is because he does make divisive films. Like there's people who really hate his movies. Like it's a thing. Like he ruined Batman vs Superman is the worst movie of all time. And then there's people who think it's a masterpiece. I just happen to love it. And when I went to the screening and I heard him talking about it, and people were like, why would you make Superman do this or that? And he's like, because I never saw it before. And I wanted to see it. He's like, I wanted a movie where Superman punched people. Because you can watch the original Superman movies. I was never a Superman fan until Man of Steel.
Really?
Because no, never. Because he's too perfect. His only weakness is a rock. Which is okay. That's okay. A rock, cool.
We didn't say it like that.
Rock. But he never. If you think back, he didn't punch anyone. He didn't do anything. He had all this power, and all he did was like save kittens. Zack Snyder was like, you're talking about an alien who grew up on Earth, has human parents. He's an outcast. People find out that he can destroy them with a snap of his fingers. You think that person is going to have a hard time trying to fit in? Yeah. And so he's like, I wanted a movie where he was learning. He wasn't perfect. Yeah. He had a hard time, and he punched people because that's what you would do.
Yeah.
Someone comes to threaten your mom, you punch them. And he did that. And I was like, you're right. You're so right. And I love that man. I love that character now because how
funny.
He actually put him in a position, which is the real controversy, that he killed Zod.
Yeah.
You know, that everyone freaked out. He wouldn't kill. It's like, well, the only way to beat a unbeatable person is to put them in a position where they have to defeat themselves. So he put him in a scenario where he had to choose, right? Yeah. To break his own morals. Yeah. And he had to choose between his family on Earth or his people on Earth or his people from a failed planet. And his reason was, you had your chance. Krypton had its chance.
I never thought of it like that.
It's beautiful. Yeah. And so I love it. So anyway, so that's what Zack Snyder said, and it clicked. And actually the funny thing is, after I went to that's when I started writing my album, because it gave me the mindset of like, you're really only here for so long. Yeah. You have a mark to make. Why are we wasting time worrying about what people think about it? Yeah. Because you have to live with what you put out, right? You're the one that has to live with it. Someone cannot like it, and that's cool. That's a given. That's going to happen. But it's you're the one who has to sit back and be like, do I put my stamp on that, or am I going to, sell out and do something because people will like it? Yeah. I just thought that was so freeing to me, and yeah. So.
No, but I love that. That's a cool insight. I never thought about that.
I wish I would have. I was like, well, someone asked me like, so you think it was a good idea to have your first solo project come out as your name? And I was like, I would have chose to come up with a cool band name, but back to the reason I chose my name is because that's putting my name on it. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not going to hide behind a band name if this is literally me. Like yeah.
That's so cool, man. I love that. Good for you, man. Well, I mean, I really don't know. I mean, other than like I love the fact, I love how you've gone to where you are. I love the similarities of your upbringing. And in fact, one of the songs I love yours a lot, which I think of, again, another comedian, is I think of Adam Carolla, actually. Mm-hmm. And that is your song, Things My Father Taught Me.
He said the world don't know you a thing. It's good to work for what you have. Get you a backbone of steel. But don't forget how to feel. These are the things my father taught me.
Yeah.
And as far as like getting your hands dirty, in a way, things that are tangible, things that are that will last long. It's okay to have heart and be tough, and just I don't know. I love that kind of thing because I think that's overlooked these days. That kind of thing, because it's looked down upon in certain things. Not to get into too many things along those lines, but I love that song, and I think that's a great song that kind of I wish more people would have a chance to listen to, because I think it's very good for people.
Yeah, I wrote that pretty early in the process. When my dad passed away in 2011, and it took me, years to be able to actually like. I couldn't sing about it,
Yeah.
So it just took me a long time. And when I wrote that song, it was, um, addressing that grief, but in a way of like, it's not like, here's like the cool stuff that my dad taught me,
Yeah.
instead of like, oh, it's a bummer now. But
Yeah.
so, but yeah,
It's
thanks,
a hard
man.
line. It's a hard line.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and that's, the song has a lot of those kind of lines in it where that's kind of guy my dad was, is he wasn't like super affectionate in the traditional sense,
Yeah.
but he wasn't afraid to like kiss me in public
Yeah.
before, sending me off to school. So yeah, that's cool.
That's good, man. All right,
Mhm.
on. Well, man, I know there's a limited time here, but I honestly I really feel like we could talk about so many fun like punk moments and in like tooth and nail history
Oh yeah, yeah.
and certain attire and other bands and man, I wish I could go on about it. But where I know real quick, you also have art. That I love your art, by the way. It's so
Thank
much
you.
fun.
Thanks, dude.
I love I love your mixture of just old school like cartoon stuff that I grew up on and
Oh
threw in a
yeah.
little twist on it. Man, it's fun to see that. My wife even goes, I showed her some of your stuff and she goes, you should have him do your guys' logo for the band. I'm like, oh my God.
Absolutely, dude. I'd love to do that for you. Yeah, it's fun. I started doing, I've been an artist since I was a kid, and I have a bunch of like with the music and stuff. I have a lot of artwork that's sort of social commentary, and some of it's pretty dark. But a few years ago, I just was like, I don't know, I just felt like I need a little more levity,
Yeah.
and so I had these ideas bouncing around in my head, but I never did anything with them because they're weird, obviously. But I just decided to start doing that stuff as like a therapy. Last couple of years have been pretty weird on Earth, and we could use some more fun stuff. So I started just doing those mashups and things, and it's been cool. And the cool part about the album was getting to do, each song has its own like design. Each song has its own logo and stuff, and so that's fun. That they go hand in hand.
I think that's fun, even as also being an art as a musician.
Mhm.
And now it's like oh well, this is the thing now, right? You get to do covers for each single. That's so
Heck
cool.
yeah.
I could show my wife's talent. I could show
Yeah.
my friend's talent over here, and that kind of thing. So when I saw yours, I'm like, oh dude, that's rad. He's just doing it for each one. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
I love it.
Well, man, I really do appreciate your time
course.
very much. Again, we'll have to do this again some other time
Yeah.
because I got so much more to talk to you about.
I'm down, dude. Just
That's
let me
right.
know.
Well, people can see your stuff at nateparrish.com, right?
Yep.
And with your art, music, videos,
All kinds of stuff. Yeah.
and then Spotify, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. You're on all those as well.
Yeah, Twitter, I'm on there, but I don't really do too much because every time I open Twitter, it's like, hey, Nate, you want to see the worst of humanity? Check it out on Twitter. So I don't go on there a ton, but yeah, mostly everything else.
It's like a digital middle finger. You just want to keep looking at it. Like, I've seen this thing before. Can someone just put that away?
But I think, ironically, that's where I found your account was on Twitter. I think it was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you popped up on. We have a mutual friend. You popped up in there. I think Matt's Music.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think I saw you on there. I was like,
okay.
Oh, cool. So, anyways, but it's always a good thing about Twitter.
Yeah, little connections like this.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. Again, I appreciate your time. Everybody, please go check out Nate Parrish on all those outlets. And man, again, thank you for your time. And I definitely want to talk to you later. Okay.
Yeah. Let's do it again, man.
All right, man. Have a good night.
See you, bud.
All right. Bye.